this is section 5.5. Our objective for today is the students will be able to add, subtract, multiply, and divide functions. This really isn't much new, it's just kind of setting up differently, but we're just going to be adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing polynomials like we've done in the past. It'll just start looking a little bit different. So if we look at the textbook at page 270, our core concept is just operations. So it kind of shows you how it's going to be written. Let f and g be any two functions. A new function can be defined by performing any of the four basic operations on f and g. So addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So it can, with addition, it can be written, it can be written like this, f plus g of x, or f of x plus g of x, same thing. Or subtraction can be written f minus g of x, or f of x minus g of x. Multiplication can be written f times g of x, or f of x times g of x. And f divided by g of x can be written as f of x divided by g of x. So they're the same thing, there's just two different ways that the book can set those up. Goes on, it says the domains, remember the domains are the x values of the sum, difference, product, and quotient of functions consist of the x values that are in the domains of both f and g. Additionally, the domain of the quotient does not include x values for which g of x equals 0. And again, that's because the denominator cannot be 0. We can't divide by 0. So if we look at some examples, example 1 gives us f of x is equal to 3 times the square root of x, and g of x is equal to negative 10 square root of x. So it says to find f plus g of x. So to do that, we simply add the two together. So 3 square root of x plus negative 10 square root of x. Remember, as long as the radicals are the same, we just add the numbers in front. So we get 3 plus a negative 10 is a negative 7 square root of x. Then it says to state the domain. Well, now remember, the domain is the domain for, it has to work for both of them. So remember, we can't take, in this case, we just have to worry about the square root. And remember, you can't take square roots of negative numbers. So the domain of this would be x is greater than or equal to 0. And the domain of this would be x is greater than or equal to 0. And so this would be x is greater than or equal to 0. Then they ask you to find, it says, then evaluate the sum when x equals 4. Now there's two ways you can do this. You can put 4 into the original and work it out, or you can put 4 into the new function. So we can just plug 4 in here. Square root of 4 is 2, negative 7 times 2 is negative 14, and you're done. If I would have done it up here, plug 4 in. The square root of 4 is 2, 2 times 3 is 6. Square root of 4 is 2, 2 times negative 10 is negative 20, and you still get negative 14. So you can do it either way. I just usually, since we've already put them together, put it in the final one to get your answer. So let's look at a subtraction problem. So this one says let f of x equals 3x cubed minus 2x squared plus 5. And g of x is x cubed minus 3x squared plus 4x minus 2. So we want to do f minus g. So we just go 3x cubed minus 2x squared plus 5 minus x cubed minus 3x squared plus 4x minus 2. Remember, since it's subtraction, change it to addition. Change the sign of everything inside, and now combine like terms. So we have 3x cubed and negative x cubed, which is 2x cubed. So that's gone. Then we have negative 2x squared and positive 3x squared, which would be plus x squared. So the x squareds are gone. And then we don't have any x here, but we have a negative 4x there. And lastly, we have 5 plus 2 is plus 7. And so this would be what you would get subtracting them. Our domain, again, because it's x cubed, it's just an x squared. We can put anything in for x, so the domain here would be all real numbers. The same thing here. There's no restrictions on what we can put in for x. can put positive, negative. So that would be no real, so the two together, the domain would be all real numbers. And then they ask us to put in -2. So again, I'm just going to plug it in here. So that would be negative. So we're going to go, let's change color. Let's go 2, -2 cubed plus -2 squared plus -2 squared minus 4 times -2 plus 7. So -2 cubed is -8 times 2. So that would be a -16. -2 squared would be a +4. -4 times 2 is a +8 plus 7. So we get -16 plus 4 is a -12. Plus 8 is a -4. Plus 7 is 3. So our answer is 3. So you can see it's nothing that you haven't done before. Multiplication, same thing. We take f of x, so x squared, times the square root of x. Alright, so we multiply. That would just give us x squared, square root of x. Our domain, we can put anything in for x here, but here we can only put in the numbers that are greater than 0. So our domain in this case would be x is greater than or equal to 0, because remember you can only take what works for both of them. And then we asked to put in 9, so 9 squared, 81. Square root of 9 is 3. 81 times 3, 243, and you're done. So again, not real complicated. Let's do a division one. So this says 6x divided by x to the 3/4. Remember, when you divide, you subtract the exponent. So this would be to the first, so 1 minus 3/4 would be 6x to the 1/4. Our domain, again, we're taking, if we look at this, this would be all real numbers. I can put anything in here, but remember, this is the 4th root of x to the 3rd. So again, we can only take even powers of positive numbers. So my domain would have to be x is greater than or equal to 0. And then we evaluate it, so we plug in 16. The 4th root of 16, now you can do that on a calculator, or the 4th root of 16 is 2, so that would become 6 times 2, which would be 12, and you're done. The last thing is we're going to look at how to solve these using a graphing calculator. So to solve using a graphing calculator, I've got this example here. F of x equals the square root of x, and g of x equals the square root of 9 minus x squared. So we're going to go to the graphing calculator, we're going to type in, this is y1. So this is square root of x, and the square root of 9 minus x squared. So what we're finding on this is we're finding f of x plus, actually we'll look at all of them. We'll do addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So f of x plus g of x, f of x minus g of x, f of x times g of x, and f of x divided by g of x. So we'll find all 4 of those. So we go to the graphing calculator. And we're going to put in for the first function, y sub 1 equals, and that was the square root of x. And then for the second one, so it gives us our graph. Now I'm going to put in y2 equals 9 minus x squared. Okay, and that gives us the second one. So now what they're going to do on the assignment, if we go to the textbook on this one, it says we're supposed to evaluate, wait a second. And they want us to do it when x equals 2. Okay? So we go back to the graphing calculator. And so we're doing all of these. We want to know what we get when x equals 2. So now we go here, and we just type in, for addition, we type in y1 plus y2. And it gives us a graph, okay? And we want to know when x equals 2, so if we just go to here, and we go to settings, and we look at table, we can find out that when it's 2, our answer is 6.41, okay? So this one is 6.41. To do subtraction, we just go back to the Desmos. And we change this, instead of y1 plus y2, we're going to change it to minus. So we go to y minus y2, and now we say, look at 2, and it says negative 3.58. So that would be negative 3.58. To do multiplication, we simply go back to the Desmos. And we change that from a subtraction to a multiplication. And again, we look here, and 2 is 7.07. And the last one, f divided by g. So we go back to the Desmos. We change the multiplication to a division. We're going to have to retype that, y2. And it gives us that at 2, it's 0.28. Okay? Now what if you're on the calculator and you've come up with these and it doesn't give you what you need? Let's say we were putting 5 in. Well, you just click here and you type in the number you want. So if I plug in 5, it tells me for division it's negative 0.14. So you can find out any number you want. Just go to the Desmos and plug it in. So those are fairly easy to do. Let's look at page 272, number 6. So this is just a story problem I want to look at. It says for a white rhino, heart rate R in beats per minute and lifespan S in minutes are related to body mass M by the function. And so it gives us that R, the beats per minute, is 241 m to the negative 0.025 power. And S of m, okay, that's the lifespan in minutes, is 6 times 10 to the 6, and then m to the 0.2, and then it says find R times S of m. So you just multiply the two together. So you can see here what they did was they just took this one and multiplied it by this one. So they multiplied the numbers together, the 241 times the 6 times 10 to the 6, that's there. Then they took the m's and multiplied the m's together, but when you multiply, remember you add powers, so they took negative 2.5 plus 0.2, and so they got negative 0.05. And then they just multiplied this, so they took 241 times 6 and got 1446 times 10 to the 6. Remember, this is scientific notation, so it just tells you to move the decimal 6 places to the right. And so you found the answer that way. So there's not a lot to this assignment. You're going to add, subtract, multiply, and divide, and then you're going to also do it on the graphing calculator. So you're going to have to show your work for the first part. With this, there's really no work to show. You're just going to type it in as y1 and y2, and then go to the graphing calculator and type in whatever the operation is, whether it's addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. You'll just plug that in so you can get all four of them at the same time. So there's not a lot of problems to do, but like on the first part, it's going to ask you to do addition and subtraction for the functions. On the second part, it's going to ask you to do multiplication and division. When they do it on the calculator, they're going to ask you to do all four. But again, you just do it once, and then you just keep changing this on the graphing calculator, and you should be able to come up with the answers. So hopefully you find this pretty easy to do. Good luck.